What's going on, world? It's the Rhymes Like Dimes podcast coming to you with your boys Peter,
Yo,
Mohammed,
Yo.
and myself, Yemi. We're here today to review Potter Payper's new album, Real Back in Style. But before we get into that, make sure you're subscribed to the Rhymes Like Dimes podcast on YouTube, and that's where you'll find exclusive album reviews like this one here, as well as all of our episodes, segments, all the times we have guests over, funny shorts, great content generally. So spread the message. Like, share, subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we drop new stuff as well. We'd very much appreciate it. But now on to the review. Potter Payper, Real Back in Style. Now, if you don't know who Potter Payper is a rapper from East London who has been in the game for about a decade now. He dropped his first mixtape, Training Day, and I think around 2013. And around the turn of the decade, he was in some legal trouble. He was in jail for a bit. And he came back to, the praise of the scene, and he dropped quite a very celebrated mixtape, the continuation of the Training Day series in Training Day 3, and now he's one of UK rap's most essential MCs and storytellers and lyricists, and he is now released his debut album. It is a 50-minute kind of affair, no features, a lot of cinematic production. Very much feels like a debut album. Very much feels like someone who's trying to make a statement, someone who's been away from the game for a while and trying to let people know that he's here to stay. So, we're going to have a look and share our thoughts, basically, on this thing. I can go first, actually, because for me, I suppose I got into Potter Payper very late. I got into Potter Payper maybe around, because I had to interview him for Trench, out to the home team Trench. And that was the first time I took him in. It was around 2021, so pandemic times. Before then, I'd never actually heard of him, except for all the kind of buzz on Twitter about how, amazing and how authentic this Potter Payper guy was. What should I say is? Listen to his catalogue, and a lot of it was him rapping over old school beats, old school classic hip hop beats, but also the kind of classic kind of road rap type beats that you kind of hear around that time, the early 2010s, late 2000s. So he was from that mode. And I was like, okay, cool, I can get jiggy with this. Then getting into his story about how, he's half Algerian, he's half Irish, he had a close relationship with his nan who has since passed away, his life on the streets, jail time, and how jail time essentially allowed him to realign his focus and really weigh up what's important to him as far as either continuing on down that road or making music and trying to make a legit career out of it. So he come out of jail with a new focus, and it was reflected in the music. And then he signed to 0207 Def Jam. It's one of the first signees. So he's very much in good hands in that way. And
is Wretch looking after that?
To be honest, I don't really know what Wretch does over there. He's the creative director, but I'm not sure if he's got his hands on various artists, or I don't know what he does, but I know he's on his feature bag right now. But Potter Payper. My expectations were, I wouldn't say they were high, but I knew there was going to be a bar fest because that's just what he's known for, and I knew it was kind of be in that kind of lineage of cinematic rap and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, in a lot of ways he didn't disappoint. I think I've listened to the album 4 or 5 times now. The first time I listened to it, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the storytelling aspect of it, and I enjoyed the fact that he sounds hungry. A lot of artists at this point in the game, when they've released a couple projects and they've received a lot of acclaim, not only from fans but also critics, it can sound sometimes like they're coasting. But he really wanted to make a statement with this album, and I feel like he kind of did that.
How many mixtapes had he dropped before the album?
So it was Training Day 1, 2, and 3. There was Thanks for Waiting, which had basically the whole scene on it. And there was a couple EPs, I want to say, in between. I think there was Pyrex Vision and Jamel Bospa, which is his real name, versus the World. So he's got a fairly expensive catalogue, at least six projects. So this would be the 7th or 8th. Correct me if I'm wrong. And yeah, I think it was very much a continuation of that, but you can tell that the budget was very much higher than previous efforts, just as far as production and, music and all that kind of stuff as well. I think he very much delivered great bars, great storytelling, sharing on a kind of wider stage, his kind of struggle as a person and the kind of, street politics he was involved in and, that kind of turmoil and the kind of PTSD he has from living that life, seeing friends get, killed and shot and imprisoned and stuff like that. And he tells it really, really well. He has his own unique way of like kind of telling that story and kind of bringing it to life, which I very much appreciate. So on first listen, I was like, yeah, this is cool. This is good. I can get jiggy. And then listening back over and over, not necessarily doubts, but it was like reservations crept in for me. Like, just in terms of like, as much as the production, I can appreciate it, it did sound very repetitive from that kind of UK rap kind of ilk. I would have liked for him to switch it up a little bit just as far as like what he's rapping over. We all love a bit of boom bap and stuff, but, eventually you're going to have to, evolve out of that and kind of do something different, which is kind of what I wanted a little bit more listening back.
But is that what you were getting from him on the previous projects? Was it strictly boom bap?
More or less, yeah.
Okay.
If he wasn't rapping over like Kanye West beats,
yeah,
he was rapping over the kind of boom bap stuff. And even his freestyles, he would rap over like old school stuff like that as well.
Yeah.
So it was very much a continuation, and I get he's kind of going to try and fill and please his audience in that way. But for someone who's actually listened to the project, his catalogue back to front, I would have liked something a bit more, like something a bit more adventurous. But what he does well. Stuff like the first song, like Blame Brexit, Multifaceted, the scenes, Toy Story 2. Like there's a lot of like good material in here. And some of the bars are great. He talked on Toy Story 2 about running away from disappearing into the night with his trauma sort of thing after seeing his friend get shot sort of thing. So he very much conjures up a very detailed, vivid picture whenever he's rapping about like the life he lives. And I very much appreciate that. On my most recent listen, I thought to myself, yeah, okay, he's in his lane, he does it well, he's feeding his fans, he's feeding the streets, and I guess that's all you can really hope for in a sense. Maybe in the future he can experiment a bit more, but for what he gave us on this debut album, I'm not too mad. I can't complain. It's a very all right album. It's something that, it does have replay value for me in a lot of ways. There are some tracks that I'll skip, but the highlights are very much highlighting. So
it sounds like you're satisfied with what you heard, but it sounds like you wanted more?
A little bit. I just wanted to see what he could do on different beats, tell other aspects of his story as opposed to the kind of the more obvious ones.
Is it the flows as well, or is it just simply the beats?
I mean, the flows, I think he switched it up a good amount, just as far as like his flows and the way he was telling stories. I mean, the wordplay was very much like on point throughout the album, but I guess I just wanted to know more about who he is as a person outside of that. But I guess if that experience defines him and defines quite a big part of his life, then I suppose I can't be too mad. Like maybe not all artists can be as nuanced as others, sort of thing. So
that's interesting you say that, man, because I found that I was getting that from him, man. Like, I feel like I hadn't really been tapped into Potter Payper at all before this album. It's the first album I've ever listened to of him. I've never heard him rap before. I've always heard his name. I've always heard how his peers talk about him in high esteem. We've had novelists on the show who, referenced him as well, and Cash referenced him too, and just different artists have referenced him over the years and that. So my expectations, there were none. But it was a pleasant surprise, actually. Like, I liked what I heard. He's a quintessential road rapper, innit? And despite how he looks, I think what he delivers is authentic, actually, because sometimes you can judge an artist based on how they look, innit? I think for me, because I'd never heard him before, that was kind of what I was doing. So maybe subconsciously there were some things that there were some like expectations kind of in there as well, because, I didn't, because of how he looked or whatever. But in listening to the music, I felt like I was getting a feel for who he was, especially from someone that has never heard him before. Like, I felt like I kind of was understanding how entrenched he was in the streets. And considering that he's incarcerated now, like, you can maybe still hear that he's still kind of in it a little bit, or he's still kind of paying for his sins of that life. Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I felt like, I kind of got a vibe of who he was. And where he's at, even, and some of where he's come from, as far as like, you know, his family, his nan, which appears to be quite dear to him, and issues that he's had in the streets and that. So I feel like I was getting that from him, you know.
I think the disconnect might be because I'm more with you, but I think
Because you might never listen to him. Though.
Exactly.
If you listen
Maybe,
to his
yeah,
whole
yeah,
catalog,
yeah,
you
yeah,
probably
yeah.
think the same way.
That's what I was
thinking,
just going to say, because
what he's doing on this album, sorry to interrupt, but what he's doing on this album is basically kind of more detailed versions of what he's kind of already done anyway.
But isn't that what, sorry to cut you off, but isn't that what most of our street rappers will do? They will like preface what's to come with the music that they've done previously, innit? So what would have gotten before would have been tidbits of their experiences, and then the album would be like the story, like the film.
Yeah.
You might have like, so the mixtapes were like episodes in a series. The album's the actual film.
Because I was 50. 50 had bare mixtapes where we were talking, and then Get Rich was the movie. And I think because I'm like you, because I've never heard Potter's, everyone's heard Potter's name. I remember the first time I ever heard Potter's name, my brother used to share my Spotify. And I saw Teachers Training Day one day randomly. I didn't listen to it just because I was like, I can't be, no.
Did you think it was rich?
What'd you say?
Did you think it was rich?
What?
Teachers Training Day?
No, but that's the original.
Oh, okay.
I can't lie to you, that's the greatest Teachers Training Day that's ever
So why did I bring him up for?
Punctuation was on that. Remember punctuation?
Sorry.
But my mind, anyway, that's the first time I remember hearing Potter Payper's name.
The wretch bondage continues.
What'd you say?
The wretch bondage continues.
Sorry. Anyway, so yeah, I remember hearing Potter's name, and I've never just listened to him. And I remember the first time, when I first listened to his album last week, I was like, all right, let me sit on it. And I don't need, when it's your debut album, I don't care if you don't want to experiment. Because it's your debut album. You want to stay in a sense of comfortability. You don't want to branch out because you might lose what got you here. And then you're trying to get new fans as well. So if you start branching out, you're it's a sticky situation because then it's your first album, you branch out, your original fans might not like you, and then the new fans that are listening to you might not fuck with you. So with your debut album, I don't hold it against my rappers if they play it contemporary, if they play it safe. If they go, you know what, this is all I know and this is what I'm doing. Especially with road rap. Road rap is such a struggle to branch out when you're doing road rap to kind of go other avenues. Yeah. So I was like, everything Potter was doing this album, surprised. The double entendres Potter does is damn near every other bar. Like, he does a dumb amount of double entendres in his raps. Like, it's stupid. No, I appreciate it though. Like, as a fan of rap, like, I think this album was the most I wrote down bars from every song. Like, just favorite bars of every song. Like, it was dumb. So, like, hearing about his story, I didn't know he grew up in Dagenham. I didn't know he was half Algerian. Didn't know he was half Irish. I knew he was a roadman. I didn't know to what extent he was a roadman. I didn't know the traumas he was living. Like, this gave me I walked out this album knowing who Potter Payper is. And I feel like that's what you can ask from someone. Like, by the time the album was done, I feel like I knew Potter Payper's life story. I feel like I know what he's about, know what he's going through, know what kind of music he makes, know what kind of shit he deals with. And I was thoroughly impressed. I'll be honest, I didn't care for him to do anything else. Half the songs didn't even have a chorus on it. I didn't care. Like, a lot of it was just him straight rapping. A lot of songs didn't have choruses. He was just straight barring. And me personally, and I love road rap. I think that might be my favorite genre. You might know that. I love road rap. So, like, for me listening to this, a bit of annoyance because I was like, I think the only reason why I didn't check Potter before is what you said. It might have just been like, I looked at him and I was like, I'm not doing it.
But that wasn't even why I had to listen to it.
Not like that though, but like,
that wasn't why I had to listen to it.
But I'm just saying, I think I done that. Because you know me, I listened to you, like, I would have tuned into Potter, but it was just, I don't know what the disconnect and what stopped me from this.
I know.
When I heard this album, I'm like, yo, he's nicer than a lot of people in the UK.
Do you know what's interesting though? As I was listening to it, I just kept thinking about what Novelist was saying. When Novelist was talking about trying to tap into that pain and rap from that perspective, and how he would speak to Potter and asking how he did it. Like, I can see why there's so much admiration for him, because I feel like Potter does that very well. I feel like on every song, even the songs that he's talking crud, there's still an element of pain that you kind of get from maybe a line, a bar, or even a whole verse, man. And I appreciate that in my road rapper, because you don't always get that, man. I feel like with like the genre of road rap, man, it's such a bravado thing. Do you know what I mean? But I feel like he comes from a very earnest place that can kind of come across vulnerable as well. And I appreciate that, man. So I if I haven't said already, I enjoy the album, man. I feel like I understand what Yemi's saying as far as maybe the lack of variety, but I don't necessarily need that much, man. If what you give me, you do well, as far as the production and the consistency of your verses, then I'm cool with that, man. And I remember we had a conversation with like Nee yesterday, and like we were talking about like the beats of the album, and like I liked the production on it. I felt like it really suited him. He suited his style of rap. Some of them were a little bit more luxurious than I imagined. Actually, I didn't. When I saw the track list, I didn't think it would be like that. So yeah, I was pleasantly surprised, man. But like, I think my favorite thing about him as a rapper is probably his storytelling. Like, he's really good at that, man. He's really good at painting that picture. And I don't know, man. Specifically in the UK, it feels like it's a bit of a lost art, like storytelling. Because other than like Nux's like Leon the Professional, I can't remember the last time I really enjoyed a story. But I feel like on this album, like there were a few different moments for me where I had that. Do you know what I mean? Like on a song called like All My Life, I feel like that was really dope, man. He depicted a really dope picture throughout that.
I literally wrote best storytelling song.
Huh?
I wrote one of the best
Oh
storytelling
yeah,
songs.
exactly, man. So yeah, man, I enjoyed the album. I thought it was really good, man. And like, yeah, I will probably listen to the next Potter album.
No, listen, I hear it. And when I say I want more variety, I'm not saying he raps over electronic beats or anything like that. I'm not saying he goes completely left field. But I look at someone like a Nines who will say in a song, you know, questioning like, I got my name from a slave owner sort of thing. Like, it being a bit more holistic in his approach and how he sees himself and where he fits in life sort of thing. And I'm sure it will come with Potter. You know, as you say, it's feeding the audience and it is sticking to what he knows best, just on an elevated level. And I can very much appreciate that. For me, I guess the next project will be pivotal as far as like how far my interest in him will go. Right. Because if it's a thing where he keeps talking about that, and again, there are exceptions to the rule as far as being able to talk about the same thing and still make me a fan. But with him, because he's had like 6 or 7 projects of this, granted, they have been steady elevations. After a while, it's going to be like, okay, what else can you do? Sort of thing. So that's kind of where I'm coming from with it. But as far as like an actual like album and, you know, the music on it and the bars, yeah, I can't really fault it. I think it's all right. I think it's good. And like I say, I think it's got a lot of replay value, and I think it will go down as like a really good album for the year. And maybe just in the canon of like, not just road rap, but UK rap, it'll be like one of the better ones anyway.
It's definitely one of the best ones I've heard this year from the UK.
I mean, that's not saying a lot, to be honest.
That's fair. I'm trying to think what else in the UK, but
to be, I mean, there's been Nines, Avelino, there's Potter, J Huss is coming.
It's been a Nines album to me.
Better than Nines album.
To me,
fair enough.
Just me personally.
Fair enough. People just shit on the Nines album. I don't really
No,
know
no,
why,
no.
I know you're not, but people have.
Okay, cool.
So, you know, I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think go back and listen to his previous projects and then see how you feel.
Yeah. No, that's the thing. Because I've never done that, everything, the freshness I'm getting from this is I'm naturally going to elevate this to where you wouldn't. Because you've heard these stories before. Everything me and Peter heard is the first time. Like the stories are the first time. So it's like, to me, it's oh shit, like
it's a good first impression.
Yeah, like, and he paints a vivid picture, like when he was about being born in Dagenham and all of that, and it's just the picture he was painting of when he was growing up, and then if I'm not mistaken, he ended the song saying, "If I had a million," and then the next song he was like, "If I was a millionaire." Like that little stuff like that is crazy to me. Like just finishing off one song, leading it to another. Then the scene. When he's going scene by scene by scene by scene. Now, Potter bodied this album. The more I'm talking about, Potter bodied the shit out of this album. No, he bodied, and I've never thought, I don't know why. I never thought I was going to like Potter, and I don't know why.
I know why.
No, it's got nothing to do with that. It generally doesn't. No. Salute to Potter. He's Aki. Salute to Potter. Like, yeah, man. No, what life? Phenomenal job. Phenomenal job, honestly. What's your favourite bars?
But I can't remember, man. I can give you my favourite songs, but
there was one about having £1 million and keeping an eye on everybody around him because he sees bare snakes in his old vids.
Yeah, I liked that too.
Right,
yeah, I liked
he had a bar when he goes, what do you say? No burner boy, but we spilling shayo. Then he had a bar when he goes, had to call the ambulance, murder in the air, I don't like the ambience. Then he had a bar when he goes, so I'm going to reel off like a few. Then he had one when he goes, East End shooters like I managed Leighton Orient.
That was a bar.
Man goes, I'm not popping spots, I got the streets in my paws. Michael Schofield, I became the blueprint. What are we doing here? Like,
did you finish Prison Break?
Yeah. Like, some of the bars like this get, man. He's a double entendre champ. Like, genuinely.
I had a weird one where I think it might have been on the song All My Life, where he was like, something, I'm from Dagenham, you cunt.
You can't.
I loved that, man. I don't know why, bro. I just loved it because it's just so like, it's authentically East London. Do you know what I mean, man? So like, yeah, I don't know. I like them sort of bars from him, ones that don't even really rhyme like that.
Nah,
just,
do you know
what I mean? Random ones.
Do you know it's to me, like when UK rappers do a lot of double entendres. Like Krypto Conan do it every other bar. But to me, sometimes it could be like, you know, bad rap is based on that, but sometimes it could be a reach. But with Potter, I don't think he's trying. I just think it's, do you get what I'm saying? Whereas
you think it's quite natural to him?
Yeah, it's quite natural. I think, and this is no shade to Krypto Conan, but Krypto Conan reach, like,
nah, they don't.
He's always been like
not
that,
reach it. What did you say?
He's always been like that.
Krypton Conan don't reach, don't do that.
Not saying they reach, but I think when they're writing, it's with the emphasis of, I'm going to do a double entendre to spin people.
But they're punchline rappers. You can't really compare them.
I hear you.
Like Potter's not a punchline rapper.
That's my point though. He's not writing for the sake of, this is going to spin people's minds on. I think double entendre just come naturally to him, especially when you hear me saying he's been rapping like that. Like, I just appreciate, I can't tell you, man, how much I love road rap, man. I genuinely cannot.
Do you think there's a ceiling for road rap though? Because I'm asking you that because of feelings that I had around it. Like when I was listening to it, I did kind of feel like same sort of story again, man. As far as like, you know, road rappers coming from the streets and then the struggle and getting entrenched in it and that. And there's obviously a way to do it to where it sounds interesting in that, but there was a little bit of that for me. Maybe after like the third or fourth listen, like I didn't feel like, yeah, I enjoyed listening to his pain, but I didn't really feel like outside of that, it was that interesting, like from a topical standpoint.
You know, I hear you because
I don't think
you're a jiggy brother and you can't get.
Yeah, I think it depends on what you mean by ceiling, because I feel like road rap and that sort of street stuff is always going to find an audience. People are always going to be compelled to listen to that and be just intrigued by it, especially if there are new rappers and older rappers coming in with their own perspectives of it. So there's always going to be an interest for it. And, you know, as far as how it can perform like critically and commercially, I guess we'll see. But as far as like taste-wise, yeah, I mean, I guess that's subjective, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Salute to Potter though.
Yeah, salute. I mean, listen.
What's your favorite songs?
Favorite songs?
I had Quite Befitting, A Million, All My Life, Blame Brexit, Actuality, Corner Boy.
I got Real Back in Style, All My Life, Blame Brexit, Multifaceted, and Scenes.
I had Everything You Had and Scenes.
Oh, wow.
Best way I can explain it. Like literally every single one you had, plus Scenes. Because Scenes to me was, best song for me on the album though, is Blame Brings It.
Yeah.
Blame Brexit is a banger, and that's the one he really, I think that was the first single from it as well.
You know, I'm like, did you listen to a single before it came out?
No.
Did you?
Yeah, I listened to Blame Brexit.
No.
But that was the only one.
Oh, Blame Brings It and All My Life. All My Life is, it's one of them two for the best songs for me. One of them two. But as a collective, I'll fuck with this album, man.
Very good story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I know Drake's is happy. East London on the map once again.
What part is he from?
Barking and Dagenham.
Yeah, cool.
I'm East London, isn't it?
Yeah, as a salute to East London.
Salute to East London. And salute to Potter as well for an amazing album. And yeah, definitely be keeping in touch to what you are up to next once you're obviously out of your situation.
Inshallah.
But yeah, that will do it for another album review. Thank you very much for watching. And we'll see you on the next one. So until then, take care, stay safe, and peace.
Bang, bang, bang.